What, in your view, is the definition of the word rituals? Let us start there. Rituals are routines and practices, usually structured and repetitive, and they're about how society operates, how individuals relate, and how meanings are constructed and communicated. Now, within the African perspective, types of rituals include birth and naming ceremonies, that includes initiation rites, marriage ceremonies, and funeral rites. Another type of rituals within African perspective are religious and spiritual rituals, which include aspects of ancestral worship, divination, that involves mediums, shamans, diviners, and oracles, healing, and herbs, chants, and other spiritual related interventions that are done in our society. Another form of rituals include agricultural and seasonal rituals. Then as we proceed, let us see what are the functions and the meanings of rituals. So rituals have different functions and have different meanings within Africa. And this would include social cohesion, because they relate to how community bonds, and they relate to social structures, they relate to belonging and identity of individuals within society. Rituals also serve the function of spiritual communication, as individuals and communities communicate with the spiritual world. And the spiritual world, we mean deities, ancestors, and spirits. Another function of rituals include conflict resolution for purposes of restoring harmony and maintaining social order. So these would include ceremonies and rituals that appease offended spirits. In Africa, rituals have a lot of symbolism and performance. And this includes performance of music and dance, masks and costumes, sacrifices and offerings. So a quick look at the example of African rituals or rituals in Africa include rituals in Yoruba religion. We have a Gungun festival, the festival of masquerades, dances, and performances of offerings. Then you have the Ifa divination, where priests interpret the will of deities. In Zulu religion, you have rituals as Umhalanga, reed dance that marks maidenhood, as well as ancestral rituals of the Zulu people. The Akan religion of West Africa has the Odwira festival, harvest and purification, as well as renewal rituals. And then you should also include the pouring of libation. You can also include a host of rituals that are performed in other communities in Africa, including your very own. Now, continuing to look at rituals in the African context. We say these are practices that are deeply embedded in the social, cultural, and the spiritual fabric of the society that serve to connect individuals with each other, individuals with their community, and individuals and community with their ancestors and the divine. They give a deep connection for the individuals with the past as well, and they give a connection with nature, and they give the individuals a connection with the unseen world. Now let us look at these rituals from the African context. They include ancestral worship, which is done, rituals that are done to honor or communicate with ancestors, where individuals seek guidance and blessings of the ancestors. As we have said in the introduction, they include initiation rites, rituals for initiation rites that mark transition in a person's life. And these are rituals to do with ceremonies and symbolic acts. We have rituals that mark harvest festivals, which are celebrations that mark, for instance, end of planting and harvest. We have divination, where you seek the knowledge, guidance from the spiritual or from a spiritual source. There are rituals for healing and protection, and these are rituals that are aimed at healing the sick and providing protection for individuals and communities against harm. So there are many forms of rituals, as we have seen, and they have an integral meaning to maintaining cultural heritage and fostering a sense of community belonging. So we have mentioned rituals to do with ancestral worship, initiation rites, rituals to do with healing festivals, rituals to do with divination, and rituals to do with healing and protection of communities. As we have said, that involve herbal remedies, prayers, and ritualistic acts. Those are rituals that are done and performed in the African perspectives. Now let us look at rituals rituals and pedagogies. So rituals and pedagogies are both central to educational practices, but serve different functions. Rituals in education refer to established routines or practices that help create a structured environment, and these might include daily ceremonies, specific classroom procedures, or regular review sessions. They can help build a sense of community, establish expectations, and create a stable learning environment. Pedagogies, on the other hand, are teaching strategies or methods used to facilitate learning, and these include approaches like inquiry-based learning or direct instruction. Pedagogy focuses on how to effectively deliver content and engage learners in a learning process. Once again, let me say, rituals play a significant role in fostering trust within the various contexts, including personal relationships, communities, and organizations. And these roles are very important because rituals guarantee consistency, because they create predictability when people know what to expect, and they build reliability and confidence, which are foundational for trust. Rituals, they provide shared values. Where individuals participate in rituals, often reinforce common values and goals. And this helps to strengthen bonds and mutual respect, which are essential for trust. We continue to see that rituals in the African perspective and how they reinforce trust. Rituals also build commitment, where by engaging in regular rituals demonstrates the commitment of an individual to a group or to a relationship. And this dedication can signal reliability and deepen trust. Rituals also help in emotional bonding because rituals can facilitate emotional connections and shared experiences, enhancing feelings of solidarity and trust. Rituals can also help establish and maintain trust by creating a stable environment and a cohesive environment where individuals feel understood and values. Therefore, let us now go a little further in our discussion of rituals in pedagogies. So therefore, rituals in pedagogies refer to structured and often repetitive practices that are embedded in the educational settings to support teaching and learning. These rituals can serve various purposes, such as creating routine. Rituals can establish a predictable structure which helps learners feel secure and focused. And such rituals include morning meetings, rituals like daily check-ins, which provide a sense of stability. Rituals in pedagogies enhance engagement. Engaging in activities like daily learning games or specific classroom routines can make learning more interactive and enjoyable for learners. Rituals in pedagogies reinforce values and norms. Rituals can reinforce the values and behavioral expectations of a classroom or educational community. For instance, if you start each day with a reflection on class values, this can help in solidifying a positive culture. In pedagogies also, rituals facilitate transitions because we know rituals can smooth transitions between activities or subjects. making it easier for students to shift their focus and adapt a different learning tasks. Rituals in pedagogy promote reflection and metacognition. Regular practices such as end of the day reflection or self-assessments can encourage learners to think about their learning processes and progress. Rituals help in building communities because when people engage in shared rituals such as group discussions and collective projects, learners can strengthen social bonds among themselves and their teachers. The rituals, therefore, can support a more organized, a more engaging, and a more supporting learning environment. So let us now try to see the subject value of rituals in the various disciplines of social sciences. So in social sciences, rituals are studied as significant social practices that embody the beliefs, values, and norms of a community. Anthropology, for instance, views rituals as key components of cultural systems. Therefore, anthropologists study rituals to understand how they reinforce social structures and how they convey cultural meaning and how they facilitate transitions. Sociology examines rituals to understand their role in maintaining social order and cohesion. Psychology study rituals in terms of their psychological functions and effects, and how rituals can reduce anxiety, for instance, enhance performance, or strengthen social bonds. Psychology is concerned with how rituals influence mental processes and behavior at cognitive levels. Religious studies explores rituals as expressions of religious beliefs and practices. They investigate the symbolic meaning of rituals, their role in religion or religious experience, and their impact on individuals and the community. Cultural studies, on the other hand, analyze rituals as performance that produce and contest cultural meaning. They are about how rituals are used to express or to show power relations. And in all this, therefore, rituals are examined as rites of passage, which include transition from one social status to another. They are observed or studied in terms of liminality, when individuals are outside their normal social positions, and they are also studied in terms of symbolic interactionism, so as to create or on how they create and sustain social order. They are also studied from their functionalism or functional perspective in regard to how they enforce norms, In the African context, therefore, rituals play a critical role in building and maintaining trust within communities. As we have said, rituals are integral to social cohesion and mutual trust. That social cohesion and identity of individuals is built through collective participation of individuals in rituals that reinforce their sense of belonging and shared identity. And therefore, rituals help to create reliance on one another. These examples we have said include initiation rites, community feasts, ancestral worship, and continuity, like the libation ceremonies we mentioned among the Yoruba community, conflict resolution, reconciliation ceremonies, purification rites are further examples of these rituals. Economic and political trust, we have examples of market blessing rituals, rituals for installation of leaders. In healing and health, we have healing ceremonies, rituals that that are done for protective purposes. And then we have symbolic acts like exchange of gifts and public oath. And we want to underscore here, trust is a social contract that is an essential element in the functioning of societies, because trust influences interpersonal relationship, institutions, and systems. Therefore, rituals are very important in this regard, because trust is based on shared norms and expectations, which maintain cohesion and cooperation. Therefore, let us look at types of trust, that when we are talking about trust as a social construct. So, interpersonal trust. Interpersonal trust is built through repeated interactions and relies on individuals' perception of each other's reliability and integrity. It is essential for forming and maintaining personal relationships. Another example of trust is institutional trust. The institutional trust is directed towards organizations and institutions such as governments and corporations. It is influenced by perceptions of fairness and transparency. So what perception of fairness and transparency, and is critical for social stability and effective governance. Another example of trust is community trust. Community trust enhances social capital and collective action. It is important for fostering a sense of belonging and mutual aid. Cultural and social norms that come through socialization help build values, norms and values that influence trustworthiness and expectations of trustworthy behavior. Then we have the role in economic transitions that reduces costly monitoring and reinforcement of the same. So it facilitates trade, it facilitates innovation, and it facilitates economic growth. So, having said that, it is important to insist here that trust serves a major role in society, in building social cohesion, in enhancing economic efficiency, in providing political stability, and in guaranteeing innovation and collaboration. Let us then turn on to looking at rituals as they are mirrored through social institutions. We all know social institutions from our various understandings of society. So, family as a social institution. In family, we have rituals that mark the rites of passage, rituals like birthdays, rituals for weddings, rituals that are performed for funerals. These are important rituals that mark rites of passage. Then we have rituals that mark daily rites like family meals, holiday celebrations, and bedtime routines. Now, at a religious level, in the institution of religion, we have rituals that are mark worship practices, like rituals like attending religious services, praying, rituals for sacraments and ceremonies like baptism and communion. In education, we have rituals that come in the form of graduation ceremony, classroom routines, and daily pledges, assemblies, and rituals that are done to instill discipline in learners. In government and politics as a social institution, we have rituals that mark inauguration of leaders, like inauguration oathing ceremonies, and national holidays. In the institution of economy and work, there are corporate rituals like annual meetings, award ceremonies, team building, rituals that mark professional milestones for growth and a promotion, retirement, and others. Within the healthcare institution, we have rituals that mark medical procedures, rituals for birth, rituals that mark death, rituals that mark illness and recovery. In public health, vaccination drives are also marked with rituals as well as health awareness. Within the institution of the legal system, you may observe courtroom protocols that uphold authority and solemnity of the courts and the law of the legal system, and rituals that have to do with punishment and rehabilitation of offenders. In sports and recreation, we have rituals that are marked in games and competition. We have rituals like the singing of the national anthem, the awarding of different trophies and awards and their ceremonies. Then you have traditional chants, fans, activities that include tailgating, wearing team colors, etc. So the importance of rituals, therefore, is marked in the cultural transition, identity formation, and social control. So within the social systems, if you take time to understand what social systems are, rituals serve the purpose of social cohesion, cultural continuity, continuity because they preserve heritage, and they help in identity formation, they help in social control, they help in conflict resolution, and they are symbolic. They help in symbolic communication and psychological well-being of individuals. Now, let us try to see how can we do structural analysis of rituals in African context. There are many ways, and we'll be focusing on some here. One way is by binary opposition. Binary opposition is simply looking at opposites. For example, you analyze rituals by looking at rituals that mark life and death, rituals that mark good and bad, rituals that mark sacred and profane, etc. Then we can also analyze rituals from the point of functionality, the roles they do, such as in bonding, social bond, in cohesion, and in providing transition. We can also analyze issues in terms of symbolism by use of symbols like animal masks, specific colors. What do they symbolize? And we can also analyze rituals in terms of myth to explain origins of the cosmic and social order. You can also analyze rituals in terms of processual analysis by looking at stages of separation, liminality, and incorporation. The contexts are many and they may vary, but we can do analysis at those levels, among others. Now, the problem with rituals is that rituals can demand conformity to social norms, and therefore they reinforce the existing social order. There is a problem there because reinforcement of social order legitimizes power structure and the social hierarchies, and therefore they reinforce inequalities and control. So when enforcement of norms by rituals tend to limit personal freedom, and they tend to penalize non-conformity, therefore giving rise to potential for oppression. Therefore, we want to say that rituals can be limiting in that regard. Though also rituals can be liberative, and these are the liberative aspects, because rituals can provide community support, rituals can provide empowerment, rituals can provide personal growth, and rituals can help in cultural resistance, or what we call a building ability and capacity of communities to withstand difficulties and overcome difficulties. Now, rituals in pedagogies, we want to underscore here that liberative pedagogies should be grounded in the idea of education as a transformative and empowering practice, and should challenge and dismantle entrenched rituals that perpetuate oppression. The intent should be to create a more equitable and just society by addressing and overcoming systemic inequalities. Now, they should be able, rituals in pedagogy therefore should be able to critique prevailing rituals, to empower communities on people through education, create inclusive spaces, encourage a critical dialogue among others, as well as active participation and agency of the people. And they should also encourage reform and innovation. That has been our discussion on rituals from the African perspective, within the African context, and as they relate to trust in the African context. Thank you, and God bless you.